First contact and deception. Dr. Maya Patel stood at her quantum laboratory window, watching the sunset paint Shanghai's skyline in hues of amber and gold. The year was 2157, and humanity had just achieved their first stable quantum entanglement field capable of spanning 10 kilometers. It wasn't much compared to the dreams of faster-than-light travel, but it was a start. The first indication that something was wrong came from the quantum field sensors. Maya noticed the readings fluctuating wildly, patterns she'd never seen before dancing across her holographic displays. Before she could analyze them further, the sky erupted in light. They emerged from what appeared to be tears in space itself, massive vessels that defied conventional physics, their surfaces rippling with impossible geometries that seemed to shift between dimensions. The Accioni had arrived. First contact proceeded peacefully, almost too peacefully. The aliens presented themselves as benevolent mentors, offering to guide humanity toward technological advancement. Their ambassador, a being called Nexus Prime, appeared as a swirling vortex of iridescent energy contained within a roughly humanoid form. "Your species shows remarkable potential," Nexus Prime had announced to the United Earth Council. "We offer you the gift of guidance to prevent you from making the same mistakes that have befallen other young civilizations." Maya was among the first scientists chosen to work with the Accioni. They established research centers around the globe, sharing carefully measured doses of their knowledge. But something about their equations bothered her. There were inconsistencies, gaps that didn't make sense. Late one night, while running unauthorized experiments in her lab, Maya discovered something that changed everything. She had been attempting to replicate an Accioni quantum field generator using Earth's technology, but her primitive approach produced an unexpected result. The quantum fields didn't just connect across space. They resonated with something more fundamental, something the Accioni's brute force technology seemed to ignore entirely. "This can't be right," she muttered, running the calculations again. But the numbers didn't lie. The Accioni's advanced technology, for all its impressive power, was like using a sledgehammer to perform surgery. There was a gentler way, a more elegant approach that worked with the fabric of reality instead of forcing it to bend. Before she could document her findings, the lab's security systems activated. Through the window, she saw Accioni vessels descending from the sky, their presence no longer feeling benevolent but oppressive. "Attention all Earth research facilities," Nexus Prime's voice echoed through the global communication network. "We have detected dangerous deviations in your quantum research. For your own safety, all independent experiments must cease immediately. Resistance will be met with appropriate measures." Maya quickly transferred her data to a quantum-encrypted drive and erased all traces of her work from the lab systems. As she slipped the drive into her pocket, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the darkened window. Behind her, the Accioni ships loomed in the night sky, their surfaces now seeming less like advanced technology and more like chains binding Earth's potential. She sent a coded message to Dr. James Chen, her old mentor at the Indonesian underground research facility. "The shepherds aren't protecting the flock. They're containing it. But I found a hole in their fence." As she made her way through the darkened streets of Shanghai, Maya realized humanity had reached a crucial turning point. The Accioni weren't mentors. They were jailers, ensuring humanity never discovered the true nature of reality. But they had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, our ability to question everything, even the teachings of gods. The real question was, what were the Accioni so afraid humanity might discover? Maya clutched the drive tighter as she disappeared into the neon-lit crowds of the city. Above her, the Accioni ships continued their patrol, unaware that their carefully constructed deception had already begun to unravel. Sometimes, the most profound discoveries come not from advanced technology, but from the simple courage to ask why things must be the way they are. And Maya had many, many questions that needed answers. The Hidden Project. 3 months after her discovery in Shanghai, Maya Patel stood in a vast underground chamber carved into the volcanic rock beneath Indonesia's Mount Merapi. The Indonesian underground research facility had been officially decommissioned years ago, making it the perfect hiding place for humanity's most ambitious secret project. Dr. James Chen, his silver hair gleaming under the harsh LED lights, studied the holographic display showing Maya's quantum resonance equations. "It's elegant," he admitted, stroking his chin. "Where the axioni force reality to bend, you're suggesting we dance with it." "More like learning to swim with the current instead of against it," Maya replied, manipulating the display to show the energy patterns she'd discovered. "Look at how the axioni ships travel through space. They tear holes in reality using massive amounts of energy. But these resonance patterns suggest there are natural flows in the quantum fabric itself." The chamber they stood in had once been designed to house a particle accelerator. Now it contained something far more revolutionary: the prototype of humanity's first resonance drive. Unlike the crystalline structures of axioni technology, their ship looked almost organic, its hull covered in intricate patterns that mimicked the quantum flows Maya had discovered. "Director Williams wants an update on our progress," James said, pulling up another display showing the facility's security feeds. On the surface, axioni patrol ships made regular sweeps, their sensors fooled by the volcanic activity that masked the energy signatures from below. "The Council is getting nervous about the increased axioni presence." Maya understood their concern. In the months since her discovery, the aliens had tightened their grip on Earth's technological development. Their guidance had become more overtly controlling, with mandatory oversight of all research facilities and strict limits on what areas of science humans were allowed to pursue. "Show them this," Maya said, activating the prototype's resonance core. The chamber filled with a soft, pulsing light as patterns of energy danced across the ship's hull. Unlike the harsh, artificial geometries of axioni technology, these patterns flowed like water, adapting and changing in response to the quantum environment around them. "Energy consumption is minimal," she explained, "because we're not fighting against reality. We're becoming part of its natural flow." The axioni never considered this approach because they're too invested in their way of thinking. They see reality as something to be conquered, not understood. James watched the readings with growing excitement. "These efficiency ratings, they're beyond anything the axioni have shown us. But Maya, if this works, if we can actually achieve faster than light travel using these principles, then we'll have proof that their guidance is actually suppression," Maya finished. "But there's something else." She hesitated, then pulled up another set of readings. "I've been analyzing the axioni's behavior patterns. Their patrols are increasing, but not just around research facilities. They're watching the space between stars with particular interest." "You think they're looking for something?" "I think they're hiding from something," Maya said quietly. "And I think that's why they're so desperate to keep humanity from developing our own way of understanding reality. They're afraid we might discover whatever it is they're running from." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the security system. Director Sarah Williams' hologram appeared in the chamber, her expression grave. "Dr. Patel, Dr. Chen, we have a situation. Our deep space monitoring station just detected something massive entering the solar system, something that made every axioni ship in Earth orbit immediately change course." Maya's heart raced as she pulled up the sensor data. The readings showed something she'd never seen before: a distortion in spacetime that seemed to operate on principles even more alien than axioni technology. "How long?" she asked. "At current velocity, 72 hours until it reaches Earth. Whatever the axioni are afraid of, I think it's finally caught up with them. The question is, do we reveal our project now, or wait to see what we're really dealing with?" Maya studied the prototype ship, its hull still shimming with resonance patterns. They had created this technology to free humanity from axioni control, but now it might be needed for something far more important: survival. "Begin final assembly," she decided, "but we do it carefully, quietly. If the axioni are running from something this powerful, we need to understand why before we show our hand." As the facility erupted into activity, Maya couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The Accioni had come to Earth claiming to be humanity's protectors, but their fear of human potential might have inadvertently pushed humanity to develop exactly what was needed to face whatever was coming. Sometimes the student surpasses the teacher not through superior strength, but by being willing to see what the teacher's certainty has made them blind to. In 72 hours, they would discover if humanity's different perspective would prove to be its salvation or its doom. Breaking the chains. 48 hours until the unknown entity reached Earth. In the launch chamber beneath Mount Merapi, the prototype ship waited like a sleeping dragon. They had named it the Ouroboros, the serpent that circles the world, representing endless cycles of renewal and change. Maya Patel stood in the ship's control center, running final diagnostics on the resonance core. Unlike the stark, crystalline interiors of Accioni vessels, the Ouroboros' bridge felt almost alive. Flowing patterns of light pulsed along organic curves, responding to the quantum flows around them. Accioni fleet is in chaos, Dr. James Chen reported from his station. They've abandoned their patrol patterns completely. 17 of their capital ships just jumped to the outer system to join their defensive line. They're scared, Director Williams observed from her command position. I've never seen them move with such urgency. Whatever's coming, they've faced it before, and it didn't end well. Maya focused on the resonance readings, trying to ignore the crushing pressure of time. The Ouroboros was ready in theory, but they hadn't dared test it at full power for fear of attracting Accioni attention. Now, with the aliens distracted by their own crisis, they had their chance. Core initialization sequence complete, Maya announced. Resonance patterns are stable and self-sustaining. Hull integration at optimal levels. She allowed herself a small smile. She's ready. Director Williams nodded grimly. Begin launch sequence. Let's see if humanity's path works better than the Accioni's brute force approach. The chamber's massive doors began to iris open above them, revealing a vertical shaft that led to a carefully hidden exit in the mountain's crater. As the launch systems powered up, Maya felt a subtle vibration through the deck, not the harsh rumble of conventional engines, but something more like a musical note resonating through reality itself. Energy signature is minimal, James reported with obvious satisfaction. The Accioni's quantum detection grid is registering us as nothing more than background noise. Their own sensors are working against them. They're calibrated to detect massive energy outputs, not our subtle resonance approach. The Ouroboros rose silently through the shaft, its hull patterns shifting to match the quantum frequencies around it. Maya's hands flew across the control surfaces, not so much piloting the ship as conducting an orchestra of reality's fundamental forces. They emerged from the crater into a sky filled with stars, and the distant glitter of Accioni ships rushing to meet the approaching threat. For a moment, Maya felt a surge of triumph. They had done it. They had created something the supposedly superior Accioni had never imagined possible. Then the sensors screamed. Massive distortion detected. James called out. Something's happening to local space-time. The stars seemed to ripple, like reflections in a disturbed pond. A patch of space larger than Earth itself simply folded, revealing something that made Maya's mind struggle to process what she was seeing. It was as if a higher dimension was bleeding into their reality, bringing with it shapes and patterns that shouldn't have been possible. The entity, Director Williams breathed. It's accelerated, impact in less than 12 hours. But Maya barely heard her. She was transfixed by the resonance readings from the intruder. The patterns were incredible. Not the brutal efficiency of Accioni technology, but something far more fundamental. The entity wasn't traveling through space. It was manipulating the very structure of reality itself. And the Ouroboros' resonance systems were picking up something else. Patterns within patterns, complexity that suggested. It's trying to communicate, Maya realized suddenly. These distortions, they're not random. They're language. The entity isn't attacking. It's trying to talk to us. But its very nature is so fundamental that merely existing in our reality causes space-time to unravel. The Accioni ships are powering up their primary weapons, James reported. They're going to attack it. Maya's mind raced. The Accioni were about to make a catastrophic mistake. Their fear had driven them to see threats everywhere, to respond to the unknown with overwhelming force. But humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to reach out, to try to understand. "Director," Maya said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I need authorization to take the Ouroboros into direct contact with the entity. Our resonance technology. It might let us communicate without reality breaking down around us." "That's insane," James protested. "We haven't even tested the ship in normal space, let alone near whatever that thing is." But Director Williams was already nodding. "The Accioni are about to start a war we can't survive. If there's even a chance of communication, do it, Dr. Patel. Show us what humanity's path can achieve." Maya's hands moved across the controls, directing the Ouroboros toward the impossible geometries of the entity. Behind them, the Accioni fleet prepared for battle, their ships charging weapons that could shatter planets. But humanity had chosen a different approach, not to fight the unknown, but to understand it. As they approached the entity, the resonance patterns intensified. Maya felt like she was standing on the edge of a revelation that would change everything humanity thought they knew about reality. Sometimes the most profound discoveries come not from power, but from being willing to listen to the impossible. The greater truth. The Ouroboros glided through disintegrating space-time, its resonance patterns adapting to the impossible conditions around them. Where Accioni ships would have been torn apart by the fundamental forces at work, humanity's vessel moved like a leaf in a stream, flowing with the currents of reality rather than fighting against them. "Hull integrity stable," James reported, his voice tight with tension. "Resonance patterns they're actually growing stronger. The closer we get to the entity, the more efficient our systems become." Maya watched the sensor readings with growing amazement. The entity's presence was causing reality itself to shift into higher dimensions, yet their ship's adaptive resonance technology was allowing them to ride these shifts like waves. "It's as if our technology and the entity operate on similar principles," she murmured. "We just work at a much smaller scale." The main viewport showed a sight that defied human comprehension. Geometric patterns that seemed to fold through dimensions beyond normal space, carrying with them colors that had no names in any Earth language. But through their resonance sensors, Maya began to see structure in the chaos. "The patterns," she breathed. "They're fractals, infinitely complex, but built on simple, fundamental rules. The entity isn't destroying reality. It's trying to expand it." Suddenly, their communication system came alive with a transmission from the Accioni fleet. Nexus primes, usually composed form, wavered with visible distress. "Primitive humans, you must withdraw immediately. You cannot comprehend the danger you face. That entity represents the end of all ordered reality." But Maya wasn't listening to the Accioni's warnings. She was focused on new readings appearing on her console. The entity's patterns were changing, becoming more ordered, more deliberate. "It's responding to our resonance field," she realized. "It's trying to match our frequency." The ship's interior filled with shifting lights as the entity's patterns synchronized with their own. Mathematical equations beyond current human understanding began flowing across their displays, but thanks to their work with quantum resonance, Maya could grasp the basic principles. "It's not just one entity," she announced, awe in her voice. "It's many, a civilization that exists in higher dimensions. They've been trying to contact lower dimensional species for eons, but their very presence causes our reality to try to expand to match theirs. The Accioni know this," Director Williams said suddenly, studying the data. "That's why they've been suppressing other civilizations' technological development. They're afraid of anyone making contact with these beings." The truth hit Maya like a thunderbolt. The Accioni aren't protectors. They're isolationists. They discovered one way to manipulate reality, and decided it was the only safe path. They've been actively preventing species from developing alternatives that might let them communicate with higher dimensions. A new set of patterns appeared on their screens, pure mathematics that transcended language. Through their resonance technology, Maya began to understand. The higher dimensional beings weren't invaders or destroyers. They were teachers, waiting for species to develop the ability to comprehend them naturally rather than through brute force. The Accioni's greatest fear, Maya said softly, was that someone would prove their path wasn't the only one, that their protection was actually holding everyone back. The ship shuddered as the Accioni fleet opened fire on the entity, their weapons attempting to tear holes in reality itself. But their attacks passed through the higher dimensional patterns like stones through water, accomplishing nothing except further destabilizing local spacetime. Their weapons can't affect it, James reported. They're trying to fight something that exists beyond the level their technology can influence. Maya's hands moved across the controlled surfaces with newfound confidence. But we can talk to it. Our resonance technology doesn't try to force reality to change. It works with natural patterns that exist across all dimensions. Through their viewport, they could see the Accioni fleet's weapons beginning to destabilize the local spacetime fabric. If they continued, they would tear apart this entire sector of space in their desperate attempt to maintain their control over reality. "Director," Maya said, her voice firm, "I think I know how to stop this. But it means proving everything the Accioni have been teaching us is wrong. It means showing the galaxy that humanity's primitive approach might be better than their advanced technology." Director Williams smiled grimly. "Isn't that what humans do best? Prove the impossible is possible." Maya initiated the final sequence, directing the Ouroboros' resonance field to its maximum frequency. Around them, reality itself began to sing as humanity prepared to show the galaxy that sometimes the most profound understanding comes not from power, but from being willing to listen to the music of the universe itself. Humanity's symphony. The Ouroboros hung suspended between dimensions, its resonance field creating a bubble of stable spacetime amidst the chaos. Around them, the Accioni fleet's weapons fire continued to tear at the fabric of reality, while the higher dimensional being's presence pushed space itself to expand beyond its normal boundaries. "Resonance field at maximum capacity," James reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "Whatever you're planning, Maya, do it fast. Local spacetime integrity is failing." Maya stood at the primary control interface, her mind racing as she processed the mathematical patterns flowing through their systems. The higher dimensional beings weren't trying to destroy their reality. They were trying to elevate it, to show lower dimensional species what was possible. But their very presence was too much for conventional spacetime to handle. "The Accioni were right about one thing," she said, making final adjustments to their resonance patterns. "Direct contact between dimensions is dangerous. But not because higher dimensions are hostile. It's because they're too advanced for our reality to process." She looked up at her colleagues. "Unless someone can translate." Understanding dawned on Director Williams' face. "The resonance technology. It's not just a dry system, is it?" Maya smiled. "It's a universal translator. Not for language, but for reality itself." Her hands moved in complex patterns across the control surface. "Our ship doesn't just adapt to quantum frequencies. It can bridge them. Create harmony between different levels of existence." The Ouroboros' hull began to pulse with new patterns, its resonance field expanding in carefully calculated waves. Where the field touched the higher dimensional patterns, they didn't collapse or tear reality. They transformed, becoming comprehensible to three-dimensional space while maintaining their fundamental nature. "Broadcasting on all frequencies," Maya announced, "sending our resonance patterns to the Accioni fleet. Let's show them there's another way." Through their viewport, they watched as their resonance field continued to expand. The higher dimensional beings' patterns began to shift, becoming visible in normal space as intricate, flowing structures of light and mathematics. Not destructive or chaotic, but beautiful in their complexity. They're responding, James breathed, watching his readings. The higher dimensional patterns, they're synchronizing with our field. Stabilizing. Suddenly, their communication system came alive with a new kind of signal. Pure mathematical concepts that their resonance technology translated into understanding. The higher dimensional beings were sharing knowledge, showing them glimpses of a universe far vaster and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. This is what the Axioni feared, Maya realized. Not destruction, but change. The knowledge that their way of manipulating reality was just one path among many. The Axioni fleet had ceased fire, their sensors undoubtedly detecting what was happening. Through their resonance field, the higher dimensional beings were sharing their understanding of reality, not through force or dominance, but through harmony and cooperation. Incoming transmission from Nexus Prime, James reported. The Axioni leader's crystalline form appeared on their screen, its usual confidence replaced by something that might have been wonder. How? Nexus Prime demanded. We spent millennia trying to understand them, to control the dimensional interfaces. How have you achieved this? Because we didn't try to control anything, Maya replied simply. We learned to listen, to adapt. Your technology tries to force reality to obey you. Ours works with it, becomes part of it. Sometimes, the student surpasses the teacher not through greater strength, but through greater understanding. As if to emphasize her words, new patterns began emerging in space around them. The higher dimensional beings were showing them something. Glimpses of other civilizations, other approaches to understanding reality that the Axioni had suppressed in their fear of the unknown. You can join us, Maya offered to Nexus Prime. Your technology, your knowledge, it's incredible. But it's just one part of a much larger symphony. Humanity hasn't just found a way to survive contact with higher dimensions. We found a way to bring all dimensions together in harmony. The Ouroboros resonance field now filled local space, creating a sphere of perfect stability, where different dimensional frequencies could coexist and communicate. Through their technology, humanity had become not just explorers or survivors, but conductors of reality's grand orchestra. Director Williams stepped forward. The choice is yours, Nexus Prime. Continue trying to control and suppress, or join us in learning a new way forward. Humanity's path isn't about power or dominance. It's about understanding, adaptation, and growth. As the higher dimensional beings continued sharing their knowledge through the resonance field, Maya watched the Axioni ships gradually power down their weapons. Sometimes the most profound revolution isn't won through superior force, but through showing a better way. The Ouroboros hung in space, its resonance patterns now a bridge between dimensions, species, and understandings. Humanity had done more than survive first contact or overcome suppression. They had shown the galaxy that the path forward wasn't through control, but through harmony. Around them, reality sang with new possibilities as humanity prepared to take its place not as primitives to be guided, but as teachers who remembered that the most important lesson is to never stop learning.